So wah there, but we will probably see a couple peaks of sunshine kind of woven into part of the day. Okay, so there you go, 70 degrees at 2 p.m. and by 6 p.m. we're just going to go with 73. I do have more rain in the forecast. That's why we're celebrating today, because tomorrow and Friday and even Saturday we're back to the rain. I'll talk more about that as we get to it at 7 a.m.
All right, Joseph, thank you. Really quickly, let's update you when it comes to your next drive. This is typically one of the busier stretches we see as we get close to the rush hour.
And it is quiet today.
It's
we
quiet
know
today.
It is Juneteenth.
Yep.
It is a federal holiday, so the banks, the post offices, all of those are closed. So this is about the time we start seeing traffic ramp up, but the Metro map really all in the green this morning. We're not seeing any crashes, really no unexpected slowdowns. So if you are headed out the door, you really should have no problem if you're making your way. Maybe you're trying to get the kids off to camp, headed out to work. Of course, we have much more coming up on our streaming show at 7 a.m. That's just in 1 minute. We'll see you on CBS News Minnesota. Next on WCCO Mornings, road closures could add some significant time to your commute this morning. We'll tell you if you need to leave early.
Plus, where the presidential candidates stand on LGBTQ plus rights. We did some digging to help you before you head to the polls.
A new Pride event is unfolding in the St. Croix Valley. See how a business owner and a River Falls college student are teaming up for the Queer Crawl.
And we'll let you know if the state of Minnesota is really on schedule to launch the legal marijuana market. Good morning. Welcome to WCCO Mornings. We're streaming live on CBS News Minnesota. I'm A.J. Hilton.
And I'm Heather Brown. Thanks so much for being on the stream with us. We do want to get straight to your top headlines.
Yeah, scary scene playing out up north. Cook County Sheriff's Office responding to reports of a 9-year-old getting hit by a tree. Here's what we know. The Sheriff's Department posted about it on their Facebook page. Investigators say the child inside a tent when that tree came down in the storms. Search and rescue crews are trying to medevac him out, but they haven't made it to the campsite just yet.
We still have not heard back, though, from the Sheriff's Office. We'll be sure to let you know of any new details just as soon as we get them. We're also following activity along the Minnesota River. This is after people watched someone drive a car into the water on Sunday night. Rescue divers were able to find that car on Tuesday, and there was a person still inside. Diving crews also found a second car in the water nearby. Authorities say that the two cars are not connected. The Hennepin County Sheriff, Dwana Witt, says that the weather made it too dangerous at times for divers to search off of the Lindale boat ramp in Bloomington. She also has a warning for anyone who's taking to the water.
We have very high amount of water, as well as the current is really fast. Right now, the waters are dangerous, so make sure if you're on the water wearing your life vest. We know that that's something that needs to happen.
The Hennepin County Sheriff's Office says it is still working to figure out how the person in the car died. They won't be identified until their family is notified.
A Minnesota mother hopes a search hundreds of miles away brings her son home.
Oh, up into the mountain here. And as I've witnessed, I will have a mother's wail today.
It's been days since Catherine Dopkins heard from her son Wesley, the 43-year-old kayaking with a friend in Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park when he disappeared Sunday. Catherine says they got caught up in high winds, big waves. The friend made it back. Park rangers found Wesley's belongings. Dopkins says she's staying in Wyoming while the search continues.
Local law enforcement say nearly a dozen alleged gang members are off the streets this morning. This is part of a violent crime crackdown in Minneapolis.
Just yesterday, prosecutors charged 10 people with federal gun and drug charges. This is related to violent crimes throughout the city of Minneapolis. As Reg Chapman reports, this is now the 4th street gang to face federal prosecution.
In the past 2 years, the joint federal, states, and local strategy to address unprecedented levels of violent crime in Minneapolis has led to federal charges for members of 3 Minneapolis street gangs. 70 gang members from the Highs and Lows in North Minneapolis and the Bloods in South Minneapolis have been charged federally. Now, U.S. Attorney Andy Lugar is charging members of a 4th Minneapolis street gang.
Today, we announced charges against 10 additional alleged gang members for their role in bringing violence and illicit drugs to our city.
Lugar says it was members of MPD's gang unit that brought the resurgence of the 10s and 20s to his attention. Working with the FBI, they were able to quickly identify members.
This group has been the focus of numerous prior investigations by law enforcement. Much of its membership have previously been convicted for federal offenses, and like previous takedowns, they are among some of the worst of the worst.
According to Minneapolis police, the 10s and 20s gangs operated in South Minneapolis, mainly in the Ventura Village neighborhood. Police say their alleged illegal activities took place inside PV Park, here near the intersection of Chicago and Franklin Avenues. Police say search warrants were executed and investigators confiscated cash, crack cocaine, fentanyl, and 13 guns, one equipped with an auto-sear to make it fire like a fully automatic weapon. Lugar says these alleged gang members are not charged under RICO, or the Racketeer, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act.
The 10s and 20s gang members were seeking to reemerge in South Minneapolis after a period of less activity. It immediately became a priority of law enforcement and our office to bring charges quickly to ensure that the 10s and 20s could not reemerge and would not be in a position to increase violence in Minneapolis this summer.
Reg Chapman, WCCO News.
The U.S. Attorney's Office says it will continue to focus resources on investigating and prosecutors those who threaten the safety of innocent citizens.
Now, as the world commemorates Pride Month, more than 500 bills aimed at curbing LGBTQ+ rights have been introduced since the start of 2024. This is according to the American Civil Liberties Union.
Now, as voters prepare to head to the polls, you may be wondering where the presidential candidates stand on gay rights issues. President Joe Biden says the protection and expansion of rights is central to his administration.
You are loved. You are heard. You are understood. And you belong.
Biden signed the Respect for Marriage Act in 2022, which provides federal protection for gay couples. But like many Americans, his beliefs have changed over time.
Marriage is between a man and a woman.
So this was his opinion as a senator supporting the Defense of Marriage Act. As vice president, he said men and women who participate in same-sex relationships deserve the same rights as everyone else.
Around that same time, former President Donald Trump stated his position.
I don't support gay marriage.
I find hard to believe that I even have to say I will keep men out of women's sports.
Although in 2016 he said he was fine with gay marriage, Trump's first-term agenda included rolling back protections for LGBTQ+ individuals, like banning transgender recruits from the military. The Pew Research Center says their views are generally in line with their voters.
Meanwhile, a first for the town of River Falls and the St. Croix Valley of western Wisconsin.
They hosted their first ever Pride event called the Queer Crawl. It's the brainchild of an entrepreneur and her dog trainer who's a student at UW River Falls. They launched the effort just weeks ago to happen before the Minneapolis Pride Festival.
The vision is that the whole St. Croix Valley will be the destination for Pride the week prior to the big Minneapolis Pride Festival.
I don't want people like me to be afraid, and I wanted to show people that even though we're in a small Wisconsin town, we can still celebrate who we are.
Some businesses signed off on the effort, offering discounts up to 40% this week. That includes restaurants, a coffee shop, a woodworking studio. If you'd like to see the list of all the places supporting the virtual event, you can check out the St. Croix Valley Pride website.
Thailand will become the first country in Southeast Asia to legalize same-sex marriage.
The Senate there approved a marriage equality bill just yesterday. The bill does still have to be endorsed before becoming law. After that, it'll take 120 days for the law to go into effect. Thailand will be only the third country in Asia to allow marriage equality. Taiwan legalized same-sex marriage in 2019. So did Nepal in 2023.
Back here locally, we want to show you this new video. This is from the wild weather up north, a rare sight. This is a water spout. It was spotted last night on Lake Superior. Now, thankfully, it dissipated before it reached land, but the soaker of this storm left entire communities looking like this.
Jess Scala sent us this video from Tower. That's about a city about 90 minutes north of Duluth. Look at that rushing water. I mean, it is covering her family's property there.
Yeah, and we have new video of the water surging down Duluth's hillside. Mark, who took this, says it reminds him of the 2012 flood that slammed the city.
Wow, but that mess is not to be contained to the north. I mean, look at this. Ben shared this video from an hour or so west of the metro. This is near Brownton. Those are tractors out there sitting in flooded out fields. I mean, you talk about everything that farmers have had to deal with over the last few years. The last few years has been drought. And now they're dealing with flooded fields because we've had so much rain, Joseph.
Rain, I mean, the last 4 days have had about 3 inches, some spots 5 inches. That's just in the last few days, really, going back to Saturday and into the weekend. Yesterday, this is a rainfall estimate using the radar. This is over the last 24 hours. I mean, we have some of these shades right here that are indicating upwards to 5 inches. No surprise that we saw that video coming through. I mean, we saw that shot of Duluth where it's just rushing and surging. So very wet. We've had even some stretches around here pushing about 1 inch to 2 inches. And we know that's just from yesterday. That's over the last 24 hours. I mentioned we've had nearly 3 inches going all the way back to Saturday. We haven't had a dry day since Friday. Why? What's going on? We have this high pressure off towards the east, and I'm sure you've heard of the heat dome over the last few days, and we still have all these heat alerts extending from Indiana, Michigan, all the way up to the northeast through New England there. Until this system breaks down, you can see that all the rain systems keep on pushing pretty much right through our corridor, can't really make it into that dome, so we're just going to keep things active. Fortunately for us, today we actually get a day to dry out a little bit, but it's going to come with some cloud coverage. 61 for Hinckley, St. Cloud right now coming in at 61 as well. Sunshine, you're going to have to hunt for it today, but if you want to see it, it's probably going to be up north into the northwest. Bit of a breeze out there this morning, though not too strong. It's about 10 miles per hour. Lower humidity levels, which is great, so the dew point number is lower. Still very, very humid, though not too far away over in Cedar Rapids, Green Bay, and Chicago, but we're getting some cooler, drier air moving in from the northwest. We're going to keep it that way for the next couple of days until we bring back the humidity heading into Friday, and that's going to be our next chance for some rain. Today, over the next 12 hours, we build to the lower 70s. We'll keep clouds in the forecast with just a little peak of sunshine here or there late this morning. All right, I mentioned more rain Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I could just keep on going. We have a lot of days coming up where we're going to see more rain, so I'll break it all down in my extended forecast.
All right. Joseph, thank you. Now to a next drive alert, because these rising rivers from all that rain Joseph just talked about now starting to close highways across Minnesota.
Unfortunately, many communities are preparing with more rain in our forecast, and Pauline Lee joins us in studio with a closer look at the closures and, of course, the impacts it's playing too.
Yeah, this is just insult to injury at this point with all the rain that we've gotten, the road closures, but the trails as well, and now the canceled events too. Oh, let's take you out to Henderson here. Highway 19 east of the city to Highway 169 closed overnight. That's in anticipation of the Minnesota River seeping onto the roadway. Minnesota River is expected to reach moderate flood stage sometime this week. Now, while flooding is nothing new here, with the road construction currently happening on Highway 6 and 93, it's now even more of a headache for residents as the detour adds at least an extra 30 minutes to the average commute for the many people traveling to Mankato for work.
In the last couple of years, we were fortunate that it didn't flood. Well, now it happens to be that we're doing these road constructions, and of course now it's got to flood.
Right. Well, the rising Minnesota River is also closing roadways closer to the metro. Southwest of the metro, Highway 41 connecting Shakopee and downtown Chaska expected to close tomorrow morning, and it's already canceled Dan Patch Days in Savage, which was supposed to kick off tomorrow. So unfortunately, there are some other events going on, which is good, but the big event that brings together the community, unfortunately not going to happen this year.
Thing is, you got to pay attention to those road closed signs because it's illegal to go past those too.
Yeah, and you can get, I think it's like a $1,000 fine if you go past it and you get caught, and then worse if you get in, you know, a dangerous situation. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Pauline, thank you.
Minnesota is gearing up to issue some of the first cannabis business licenses since lawmakers legalized weed just last year. We want to check in with our Caroline Cummings, who sat down with the interim cannabis chief about how the rollout is going.
Deputy Commissioner for the
Charlene Briner leads what she calls a scrappy startup.
As I say often, we are not bored at the Office of Cannabis Management.
The brand new government agency tasked with oversight of the legal cannabis market set to officially fire up next year. The Office of Cannabis Management, she says, is scaling up staff and getting ready to issue the first business licenses later this summer.
I would say that there is a high level of interest in the work that we're doing.
Next Monday, OCM will open up a process to verify if Minnesotans qualify as a social equity applicant. People like veterans, farmers just starting out, and those convicted of possession or sale of cannabis before it became legal. If approved, they can apply in July to be among the first considered for an early license through a lottery. There's a set number to be awarded.
Well, I think that people who don't make it through the lottery will likely be disappointed. However, it's not their only crack at the apple, right? This is pre-approval. There are going to be multiple additional rounds.
Thanks to changes at the Capitol this year, those given the green light to be cannabis cultivators can grow the first commercial plants this fall. Growers will still need approval from local governments and have an inspection before those seeds go into the ground.
We want to make sure that we're getting at least a number of months head start for the product to be grown, to be cultivated, to be processed, so that there is actually a product on retail shelves.
In St. Paul, Caroline Cummings, WCCO News.
We have everything you need to know about applying for an early license on our website, WCCO.com.
Coming up, costly car repairs can take a hefty toll on your wallet. What one local program is doing to bring down costs for customers and the environment.
Countdown is on for the Summer Olympic Games. Next, to look at Team USA's new Olympic uniforms.
start your next drive now. So we'll take you down to 169 right there at 101 and down in that Shakopee area. Things looking good all across the metro. We're not seeing any problems. It's a quiet morning, quiet start to the day. So you can see lots of green out there, no crashes to report. So if you're headed out the door, should be no problem on your Wednesday morning commute. Now, for low-income families, reliable transportation is a key to survival. Last-minute car repairs can lead to financial disaster. Derek James shows us how a Minnesota program providing free car fixes is expanding its mission to take care of a major repair.
In the bays of the nonprofit Lift Garage in Minneapolis, mechanics are on a mission to provide low-cost auto repairs.
We serve Minnesotans that are at 150% of the federal poverty guideline or lower. For a family of, 3 people, that's in the $30,000 range.
Leaving no budget for a serious setback.
We've been able to save thousands of dollars for our customers replacing exhaust systems that they wouldn't probably have gotten done otherwise.
It's all because of Project Clean Air Repair.
What we do is piggyback on what they're doing already to cover the cost for the emission environmental benefit of these kinds of repairs.
An estimated 25% of passenger vehicles cause 90% of vehicle air pollution in Minnesota. Since 2017, Project CAR has covered the cost to repair nearly 600 cars, eliminating 32 tons of emissions. This isn't the Mercury Marquis from Uncle Buck that you're repairing.
Right, it can be. We see our fair share of late model cars that need a lot of repairs, but we also work on cars across the spectrum.
The program is run by the nonprofit Environmental Initiative.
Minnesota is going to face pressure that we're going to be close to violating federal air quality standards because new standards are going to be set this year.
Failure would lead to mandatory vehicle emissions testing across the state.
There are no silver bullets, so we have to do multiple kinds of projects like this to gain emission and exposure reduction, but also are cost effective and provide these kinds of economic benefits.
Project CAR is growing. Turbo Tims is the newest of 8 partners offering emissions repairs through the program at all 3 of its Twin Cities locations.
We could do this anywhere that we could find the shops because, again, there are cars like this and people who need the help, and we all benefit from cleaner air.
As a Minnesotan and as somebody that likes the outdoors, I want to make sure that we're protecting our environment in every way that we can, and this is a really innovative way to do that.
In Minneapolis, Derek James, WCCO News.
Project CAR is funded by Flint Hills Resources, Marathon Petroleum, the City of Minneapolis, and the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. So Team USA has unveiled its 2024 Olympics uniforms. Ralph Lauren designing the outfits that the athletes will wear all throughout the games in Paris. Brand says that the collection drew inspiration from the host city while embracing a patriotic spirit. Items from that collection, you can buy them, ralphlauren.com or teamusa.com. So check these things out. Do you like them? That is our question of the day. Do you like the USA Summer Games 2024 outfits? Easy to do. Chime in right there, QR code or WCCO.com/connect, and we'll check back in with you coming up in just a bit. Coming up, we'll have another update on your next weather, plus more of this morning's top headlines. Then the huge impact the recent rain is having as many areas in the state are dealing with flooding. And 2 popular Minneapolis swimming spots being forced to close. We'll tell you why the water there could make you sick.
watching WCCO Mornings, always streaming on CBS News Minnesota.
Good Wednesday morning, 7:26 now. Joseph will have your next weather forecast coming up in just a minute. But first, rising rivers are causing roads and trails to close. Also canceling events in Henderson, Highway 19 just east of the city to Highway 169. That has been closed overnight. This is in anticipation of the water seeping onto the roadway. Highway 41 connecting Shakopee with Chaska, that's expected to close tomorrow. And organizers of Dan Patch Days in Savage, they've already canceled this year's event. That's because of all of the saturated grounds from our recent rain. Fort Snelling State Park experiencing some flooding as well. The DNR says just a quarter of the park's trails are accessible. Do want to take a look at your next drive this morning. I want to take you out here to the Richfield Bloomington area. So 494 35W. We know this is generally a busy stretch, but things are really quiet out there, quiet across the metro. It is a federal holiday. It is Juneteenth, so we are just seeing less traffic out there on the road. So if you're headed out the door, no crashes to report. Should have no problem trying to get off to work or maybe to get those kids off to camp. Joseph?
Yeah, it's nice to see no rain this morning as well. And if you're just getting out for maybe a nice little walk this morning, the humidity is a lot lower. Today we keep clouds in the forecast, though. It is our dry day of the week. 72 degrees to about 75 will be our high today. I'm hopeful that maybe we just see a little bit of sunshine as we get into the late morning. 60 tonight and cloudy tomorrow, though. Back to the rain. We'll talk more about that coming up. CBS News Minnesota.
Watching WCCO Mornings, always streaming on CBS News Minnesota.
Next on WCCO Mornings, a beloved support dog gone. Now the family is asking for answers.
Plus, the arrest 4 years after a body was found in the basement of a building in Minneapolis.
Flooding causing major issues across the state of Minnesota. How the high water could impact your commute.
A new immigration policy offering protection. The president's announcement that could impact about 500,000 people. And why Minnesota families worry the rule change isn't enough to save them.
Thank you so much for joining us as we dry out on this Wednesday. I'm AJ Hilton.
And I'm Heather Brown. A Carver County family is desperate for answers after someone shot their beloved pup several times, forcing the family to put him down.
WCCO's Alan Henry shows us how this member of their family was helping through with the loss of another family member.
We shouldn't have to live in fear if someone's going to decide if our animal's last day is today.
But Ariel Brandenburg says she's been living with that fear for herself and her 2 young boys ever since losing their beloved pup, Gus. Ariel says her son went to the end of their driveway Saturday afternoon to grab the mail, with Gus accompanying him as usual.
And his dog likes to lay at the end of the driveway, and he laid there. And then about 8 minutes later, his dog came running up the driveway, bleeding through his back leg, and he was shot 3 times through the back.
The family took Gus to the vet, but were told his injuries were too severe. The Carver County Sheriff is now investigating.
So I don't know why someone would want to shoot this dog, but clearly that's what happened. I don't know if it was out of spite or some other reason, and that's what we need to find out, and the family deserves some answers.
Ariel says Gus was only out of sight for 10 minutes, but believes the dog stayed put and was on their property when he was shot, given his training as a service dog.
They lost their father to suicide a few years ago, and Gus was the thing that got them through it. He knew when my kiddos were having anxiety attack, when they were grieving hard, and he would go and be the heavy weighted blanket on top of their bodies. And Gus would go everywhere with us.
Ariel says answers would help bring closure to her family.
It's a very, very sad situation when you have such big loss in your life as a parent, and then you lose a dog that literally got you through that loss, and not knowing who did it and why they did it.
Alan Henry, WCCO News.
Anyone who has information about the shooting is asked to call the Carver County Sheriff's Office.
A man has finally been arrested for a crime that was committed 4 years ago. So a body was discovered in a small fire inside of the basement of a Minneapolis building back in 2020. Authorities say that the man, 52-year-old Wayne Jacob Arvidsson, was the victim of a homicide. Well, now police say that man was killed by someone who is subletting from him. According to the charges, the victim cheated this man out of $2,800. They say the suspect beat the victim to death and then set his body on fire. He is charged with murder and arson.
Those of you who live in Edina, you need to be on alert because police say they have been on the lookout into several break-ins. They are investigating incidents of underground garage burglaries. Edina police have recovered tools and other property. These break-ins happened between October and January. The investigation is ongoing.
Meanwhile, shops in Edina have a new tool to fight shoplifting. A new police substation has opened up near Southdale Center. It includes an office for 2 retail crime investigators. The substation will be used exclusively to fight shoplifting.
The St. Paul Public Schools Board of Education has approved a $1 billion budget for 2025. That budget includes more than $700 million in general fund expenses. It's nearly $115 million less than last year. That's because of the expiration of American Rescue Plan federal funding. The expenses this year will be more than the school's revenue. The budget passed in a 6-1 vote.
New this morning, you won't be able to swim at Weber Natural Swimming Pool or Lake Harriet South Beach for a while. Minneapolis Parks and Rec say that they've found bacteria levels in the waters there just too high. They'll resample the waters tomorrow and give us updates then.
We know rivers are continuing to rise. It's causing headaches all across the state.
And now it's not just closing highways, it's also closing trails and canceling events that we all look forward to in the summer.
Our Pauline Lee joins us live in studio with a closer look at the impact. Pauline.
Yeah, it's the events that get me, right? Because they're so much fun in the summertime. But let's take you out to Carver County. Let's talk about some of those road closures that you'll need to be aware of. So this is near New Germany. This is Highway 30 near Yale Avenue to the county line. This already closed earlier this week because of flooding. So did Highway 123. This is between Watertown and Mayer. And you can see that right there. in between the two towns. But there is another road closure that is coming up tomorrow. This is closer to the metro, southwest part of the metro. Closing tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning, Highway 41. This connects downtown Chaska to Shakopee, and that's because of the rising Minnesota River. And communities in Delano as well are preparing. Crews have begun installing a flood wall near the Crow River. But it's not just the roadways, as we mentioned, that we're worried about. All of the recent rain is saturating the grass too, so much so that organizers of Dan Patch Days in Savage have made the difficult decision to cancel this year's event that was supposed to kick off tomorrow.
It's a yearly thing we've had going on for a while now, and it just brings everybody together, and it sucks not to see everybody be able to get together, but we're still having some things going on, so that's still good.
And now let's talk about the trails as well, because Fort Snelling State Park also experiencing flooding. The DNR says only about 25% of the park's trails are accessible at the moment. So it's really important if you head out there. It's a really popular time to do so. Yeah. Make sure you pay attention to all those signs out there.
Got to pay attention to those signs because going around them, it's illegal. And not only that, but then you put yourself in danger,
Very dangerous.
Exactly, yeah. It doesn't take much to cause a lot of issues.
No, it doesn't. All right. Pauline, thank you.
So as Pauline alluded to, we've been experiencing a lot of rain recently, and there's only more to come.
The increase in rain could make the mosquito population spike. Well, right now, mosquito numbers are normal after a surge earlier this spring. But with the rain, more eggs are expected to hatch, and that could bring this surge back.
Let's go ahead and take a live look outside this morning. So the camera's starting to shake a little bit. The wind picking up. This is the viewpoint from St. Paul looking toward Minneapolis. Lots of cloud cover on this Wednesday, Joseph. Will the clouds be sticking around all day?
Clouds sticking around just about all day today. Yeah, and some of the wind as well, as you mentioned. That's probably our big next weather factor for today. But hey, at least we have some dry time. I'm not going to complain too much about our forecast for today, and it's not as humid. Gotta love that. All right, here's our June rainfall. Why don't we start with this part of the story, because going back to Saturday, we've had nearly 3 inches of rain here across MSP through areas of Minneapolis over towards St. Paul, and some little spots and nooks even picking up more than that, especially up north over the last 24 hours. And so it has been very, very wet. Now, even with all the rain that we've had so far this month, we're not to 5 inches. We're at 4.63 inches. Here are some of the wettest June years on record. Number 1, 1874, over 11 inches there. Just recently in 2014, or at least not too long ago, at 11.36. So we could definitely see a June that has even more rain, and we probably will get another 1 to 3 inches by the time we wrap up the weekend. So we're going to throw some more rain on top of that. We'll see where we wrap up the month when it's all said and done. All right, so here's the next 3 days. Anything in this red shade right here, which does include the Minnesota River Valley, kind of extending up towards the Twin Cities. A lot of those spots there are projected about 1.5 inches to about 3 inches of rain, and all the way down towards Worthington, maybe even picking up about 4 inches of rain. So that is including tomorrow, Friday, and then a portion of Saturday. So things are definitely going to get wet again. It is dry this morning. We love that. In fact, there's even some areas up to the northwest, not west, where the clouds are thin enough, or there's a break in the clouds to actually see a little bit of sunshine this morning. I don't think we're going to get too much of that here, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit of sunshine kind of working through here for mid-morning. All right, so let me take you through the forecast. Here's 9:15. We're still dry, and as I mentioned, it should stay dry today. There will be some moisture not too far away down to the southeast. It could potentially clip that southeast fraction of the state. The rest of the state, though, should stay away from the rain for today. Overnight, we start seeing a couple scattered to isolated showers, though on the dry side and cloudy side. Then we get into tomorrow morning and into the afternoon hours, and then we start seeing more showers develop. But I really don't think we get into the heart of our next system until probably tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. So we actually have a pretty good chunk of some dry time tomorrow, unless something changes over the next 12 to 18 hours. But it looks like that rain really doesn't arrive until probably 7 or 8 p.m. on our Thursday. We still stay pretty wet. It's going to take some time for that system to clear on out. So Friday morning to probably about Friday at midday, we're still dealing with some scattered showers and thunderstorms. So heading into the weekend, Friday at 78, Saturday at 81 with some more action going on Saturday. If you have anything planned Saturday, I think maybe late Saturday into the evening hours, we might get some dry time working in. Sunday looks to be completely dry for us if you're going to be sticking around here in the Twin Cities. All right, 86 on Monday, 88 on Tuesday. So we start trending to some warmer air again, starting to really feel like summer. And the summer officially begins tomorrow, but tomorrow is actually going to be our coolest day of the week at 72.
Go figure.
Sure
Go
is.
figure. Yeah.
All right, Joseph, thank you. Let's take a look at your next drive. We're going to take out to the Metro map to start. There's a lot of green out there today. It is Juneteenth. That is a federal holiday, so your post offices, your banks, they are all closed, and we are seeing that reflected in the traffic map. We do have one crash, though. We do want to take you down to Richfield here. This is a busy spot. We know if this is 494 westbound here. It's right between Penn and Xerxes and where the crash is. I'm going to take you back to, let's see, what do we got? Let's take you back to Lyndale to see how far this is going. Actually, AJ, can you do that for me?
Yeah, hold on a second.
Take me back to Lyndale, because I know that the traffic is backing up to there. It's not quite all the way back to Portland. But what is also happening is it's slowing traffic on the other side, too.
You know, well, let me switch the cameras right now. I just clicked on it.
Okay.
There you go. Let's see.
There we go. Well, here's what I can tell you. I just was able to look at them a second ago. It's going back to Lyndale. So if you're making your way through that Richfield Bloomington area on 494, know you are going to run into this here. Looks like they're doing a quick job of getting that cleared. But we know this is a busy stretch. Roads are quiet, though.
Not quite to Portland just yet.
But,
Lyndale's bad.
Yeah. So this is the one thing, though. This is the one crash right now that MnDOT is reporting.
New overnight, Russia and North Korea have signed a comprehensive strategic partnership.
So we do have new video of Russian President Vladimir Putin arriving in Pyongyang. This is for a summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Russian state media says that Putin and Kim met for about 2 hours. Kim Jong-un reportedly promised full support for Russia's war in Ukraine. Putin thanked Kim and said both countries have agreed to help if the other is attacked. The agreement also calls for North Korea to provide Russia with weapons in exchange for economic and nuclear technology assistance.
A newly announced citizenship plan from the White House has caused for relief as many as 500,000 people.
President Biden shared a policy that will allow undocumented immigrants married to American citizens to stay in the U.S. while they wait for green cards. Now, the way it is now, undocumented immigrants have to go back to their native country, sometimes for years. We spoke to one family from Richfield whose dad came here from Mexico more than 30 years ago, and now they don't have to worry about being separated.
It's just emotional, you know, being able to finally be able to say, oh, my dad is going to be safe, my mom is going to be safe.
I think this is a really great step forward. This will offer an opportunity for the family to remain together while they go through this often very long process.
Experts say Biden's policy is likely to face legal challenges. Now, if he loses the election, Donald Trump could possibly reverse things back.
Today, Minnesota lawmakers are responding to immigration policy changes. Representative Ilhan Omar and leaders from Unidos Minnesota, that's an organization representing multiracial and mixed status working families in Minnesota, holding a news conference at 9 a.m. They're going to talk about how the new policy changes will impact our state. That conference is at Mercado Central.
New this morning, Hall of Fame San Francisco Giants baseball legend Willie Mays has died.
Yeah, Mays, nicknamed the Say Hey Kid, known as the player who had the rare ability to hit home runs while also excelling at running, throwing, and fielding.
He overcame and everything to become American hero, legend, and friend to so many.
When he finished his 23-season career, he had 660 home runs. At the time, that was second only to Babe Ruth. Mays also spent a few months here in Minneapolis as a minor league player. He died at the age of 93. The San Francisco Giants made that announcement on social media, but they did not provide other details.
Coming up, JetBlue is changing its policy when it comes to carry-ons. We're going to tell you who will now be able to bring them on a flight without paying an extra fee.
Today is Juneteenth, and there are a lot of ways for you to celebrate. We'll tell you about the events happening in the Metro to commemorate the newest national holiday. For your money this morning, JetBlue making big changes to its carry-on baggage policy. The airline said basic economy ticket holders will soon be able to bring a carry-on bag in addition to their personal item. That's as long as space permits. Passengers previously had to pay more if they wanted to stow a carry-on. New policy takes effect come September. Doesn't matter when the ticket was purchased. The change will make United Airlines the only major carrier that does not allow carry-on bags on basic economy tickets. Minnesota trying to fill needed positions in high-demand fields, and it's why Governor Walz announced $12 million for job skills training, work readiness, internships, and more, all to help Minnesotans find jobs. This is to fill much-needed positions in fields of construction, clean energy, energy efficiency. You can learn more about the grants and if you can benefit on the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development's website. While we're over the flooding, right? The record-breaking heat waves, we know it's burning holes in people's wallets. Extreme heat, it is becoming more frequent. It is becoming more costly. Bank of America's analysis found higher average temperatures boost the average monthly utility payment. Get this, in a 2023 report, the U.S. Congress Joint Economic Committee cited data pointing to more than 2.5 billion hours of lost labor across certain sectors. Sectors like agriculture, construction, and manufacturing.
All the data is suggesting that these heat waves are hotter and are lasting longer. And so when that occurs, people have to turn up their aircon and leave it on longer, and that's adding to cost.
We also know extreme heat can disrupt the airline industry because when the air is hot and less dense, planes need less weight or more runway for takeoff, and that can lead to more canceled flights, something you may not have known. Meanwhile, FEMA is being urged to include wildfire smoke and extreme heat like major disasters like your hurricanes and your tornadoes. Labor unions and environmental groups say an amendment to the Stafford Act would unlock federal emergency management money. The National Weather Service says extreme heat causes twice as many deaths every year compared to hurricanes and tornadoes combined. We do want to get another check of the forecast with Joseph Dames, who is standing by.
Well, good morning and happy Wednesday. How about a high of 74 degrees today? Might feel pretty nice after topping off at 86 yesterday. Yesterday was just so warm and humid and then eventually stormy. We stay away from the rain today, and we're going to see those temperatures below average by just a few degrees. We'll get back to some warmer days coming up by the time we get closer to the weekend. All right, so there you go. One dry day. Haven't had that since last Friday, but we're back to the rain and some storms on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Joseph, thank you. So as far as your next drive is concerned, we are continuing to follow that crash. That's going to be on 494 westbound. This is going to be at 494 and Penn Avenue. So this is a construction zone already. And you can see we do have a lane of traffic blocked as first responders work to get the two vehicles involved in this crash, get them out of the way. But the problem is this is backing up traffic. So here, let's take a look. Here's the camera. Here's the viewpoint from 494 at 35W. So you can see the backup there. Oh, but wait, it's even worse. This actually goes back all the way to Lindale Avenue, so past 35W. And here, let's check the Portland camera to see if it's reaching there. Yeah, it's starting to stretch to Portland, too. So anyone who's making their way, if you're coming, for example, from the airport and you're using 494 to get over to the west metro suburbs going to Eden Prairie, this is the crash, the delay that you're going to run into. So it looks to be in the clearing stages, but still got a little bit more work to do. Give yourself a little bit of time. Looks like the delay right now. Let's see what MnDOT is saying. Hold on just a second. Right now, they're saying it's a 17-minute delay to get through there. As always, we work to continue to keep you up to date with the latest news, the weather developments all day here on the stream. Also, we should point out today is Juneteenth. This is the newest federal holiday. It's the day that we commemorate the end of slavery in the United States. And there are several ways that you can celebrate today. For example, Juneteenth tours are taking place at Fort Snelling. Juneteenth festivals and celebrations are happening on the south side and over in Maple Grove and Edina. How about the Ordway Theater hosting a Juneteenth improv show? You can find other ways and events that you can celebrate, as well as details about those events. It's all on our website, WCCO.com. Just remember, banks and post offices, they will be closed today, but most retail chains, they are open, so you will not be getting your mail today. Well, you know, summer starts, I think tomorrow. I think summer starts tomorrow, and here we go. We're talking about Megaphone because Summer Olympics, they're right around the corner. What do you think of the outfits? Ralph Lauren always does a great job. They're very similar year after year. Do you like them? They're all right. No, it's an awful design. Okay, 50% of you say you love them. all right, awful 25%. Continue to sound off. We'll take more of your comments as we move on. We'll be back with more news headlines after we take a quick break.
Watching WCCO Mornings, always streaming on CBS News Minnesota.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm AJ Hilton. Joseph Dames will have your next weather forecast in just a minute. Want to let you know you will not be able to swim at Weber Natural Swimming Pool or Lake Harriet Southeast Beach for a while. Minneapolis Parks and Rec say they found bacteria levels in the waters that are simply too high. They will resample the waters tomorrow and they will give us updates then. But just for warning right now, you can't go there right now. Your next drive for the most part has been pretty quiet. However, we are following a crash and this is going to be on 494. This is right in the crosstown. 494, as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, that is at Penn. This is going to be westbound in Bloomington. Anyone who is trying to make their way to the west suburbs, Eden Prairie, you're going to run into this right now. A 21-minute delay. That's from the airport just to get to Edina as they look to get that crash out, and they're in the clearing stages right now. Joseph Dames, please tell me we get a little reprieve from the rain today.
Oh, I will hand it over to you. We will. We will definitely get some of that dry time for today. We need it. We know it's been so wet. We haven't had a dry day completely since Friday and then Thursday, the day before that. And so today's going to be a nice one. It's just going to be cloudy, not as humid. Temperatures down about 10 degrees. You can see right now we're in the 60s and 50s this morning. There's the cloud coverage, though, and there's the blue tower. That might be the only blue that we really see for today, but there could be a few pockets of some sunshine out there. I'll leave you here with the next 12 hours. Make some plans heading into the afternoon. Lower 70s. Good to just spend some time outside.
watching WCCO Mornings, always streaming on CBS News Minnesota.
Next on WCCO Mornings, 10 alleged gang members are off the streets today as part of a crackdown on violent crime in Minneapolis. Authorities explain the timing of the arrests and how some federal officials helped make it happen.
And
closures, how the high water could impact your commute.
Also, a little bit later today, it is Juneteenth. A lot of ways to celebrate, so we're going to tell you about the events happening to commemorate the newest national and federal holiday. Just for a moment, I want to pause to say good morning. Welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to WCCO Mornings. We're streaming live on CBS News Minnesota. I'm AJ Hilton.
And I'm Heather Brown. Thanks for being with us on the stream.
We start with a scary scene playing out up north. The Cook County Sheriff's Office responded to a 9-year-old getting hit by a tree.
Sheriff's Department posted it about this on their Facebook page last night. They said that the child was inside a tent when a tree came down in the storms. Search and rescue crews are trying to medevac him out, but they haven't yet made it to the campsite. All of this part of bad storms up north throughout the evening last night. Now, this just into the newsroom from Cook County, from the Sheriff's Office there. We are told that the boy was medevaced. This just in here successfully, and the North Shore Health Ambulance transported him to a hospital in Grand Marais. We will let you know how he's doing just as soon as we learn more. We are also following all the activity along the Minnesota River. This after people watched someone drive a car into the water there on Sunday night. And rescue drivers were able to find that car yesterday, but unfortunately there was a person still inside. Diving crews also found a second car in the water nearby, but that car was from a long time ago. Authorities say they don't believe the two cars are connected. But the Hennepin County Sheriff Dewana Witt says that weather made it too dangerous at times for divers to search off of the Lindell boat ramp in Bloomington. She also has a warning for anyone taking to the water.
We have very high amounts of water, as well as the current is really fast. Right now, the waters are dangerous, so make sure if you're on the water, wearing your life vest. We know that that's something that needs to happen.
Hennepin County Sheriff's Office says it's still working to figure out how the person in the car died. They will not be identified until their family is notified.
A Minnesota mother hopes a search hundreds of miles away brings her son home.
Unashamedly, I will go up into the mountain here. And as I've witnessed, I will have a mother's wail today.
It's been days since Catherine Dopkins heard from her son Wesley, the 43-year-old, kayaking with a friend in Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park when he disappeared Saturday. Catherine says they got caught up in high winds and big waves. The friend made it back, and park rangers found Wesley's belongings. Dopkins says she's staying in Wyoming while the search continues.
10 alleged gang members are off the streets as of yesterday. This is all part of a crackdown on violent crime in Minneapolis. So members of the 10s and 20s street gangs face federal drug and gun charges. This is all part of a years-long investigation by Minneapolis police and the FBI. Investigators confiscated cash, crack cocaine, fentanyl, and 13 guns, one of which could be fired like a fully automatic weapon. So these alleged gang members operated mainly in the Ventura Village neighborhood of South Minneapolis.
We will continue to work tirelessly with our partners to dismantle criminal organizations and hold accountable those who seek to destabilize our neighborhoods through fear, violence, and intimidation.
The arrests are part of the federal, state, and local effort to get the most violent offenders off the street. Now, this is the 4th Minneapolis street gang whose members have been charged with federal crimes. Minnesota's cannabis chief says the state is still on track for the legal marijuana market to be up and running next year.
Interim director of the new Office of Cannabis Management, Charlene Briner, says the new agency is scaling up. Soon there will be 100 people on the staff. The office is getting ready to launch the initial step for the first round of cannabis business licenses next week. People who meet the criteria of a social equity applicant, they are eligible for early state approval before everyone can apply next year.
One of the things that we wanted was to avoid the oversaturation of the market and too many businesses that would really lead to some volatility and price instability and oversupply. We've seen that in other states. So we've really been cautioned to learn the lessons from other states and avoid some of the pitfalls.
Thanks to changes at the Capitol this year, those given the green light to be cannabis cultivators can grow the first commercial plants this fall. Growers will need approval from local governments and have inspection before seeds are in the ground. We have everything you need to know about applying for an early license in this story on our website, WCCO.com.
So today is for celebrating. It is Juneteenth, which is our newest federal holiday. It's a day that we commemorate the end of slavery in the United States.
And there are a number of ways that you can celebrate today because there are Juneteenth tours at Fort Snelling and Juneteenth festivals and celebrations on the South Side and in Maple Grove and in Edina. How about the Ordway Theater hosting a Juneteenth improv show? You can find other events and ways to celebrate as well as all the details about these events on our website. Again, WCCO.com. Just a reminder for you today, don't expect the mail because post offices are closed. Banks are closed today, too. Most retail chains will stay open.
So it is the first for a town of River Falls and the St. Croix Valley of western Wisconsin. They're having an inaugural Pride event. It's called the Queer Crawl. This is the brainchild of an entrepreneur and her dog trainer, who's also a student at UW River Falls. They just launched this effort weeks ago to happen the week before Minneapolis's Pride Festival. Now, some businesses signed on to the effort, offering discounts of up to 40% this week. For a list of all the places supporting this virtual event, you can check out the St. Croix Valley Pride website.
Meanwhile, a lot of people in Minnesota are without power after the storms from last night. The outages stretch across 5 states, so that includes Minnesota, Wisconsin, and they impact about 10,000 people. Let's start in Minnesota because customers in places like Stearns, Hennepin, Ramsey, Wright, Anoka, and Sherburne counties are impacted. We are continuing to monitor the situation. We will provide you any updates as soon as we get them.
We do want to show you a scary sight. This is from just above Lake Superior. It's actually a rare sight. It's a water spout. This was spotted last night. Now, thankfully, it dissipated before reaching land. Meanwhile, our neighbors to the north are dealing with rushing water and flooded yards. This is Chisholm. See the streets here overcome by rising rivers, cars barely being able to get through the road. Let's take a live look now, though, over where are we going to head out to this morning? Yes, downtown Minneapolis. You can see lots of clouds in the sky. Yes, you might think, okay, it's going to be raining again, but no, in fact, it's going to be cooler today. It's just going to be our only dry day of the week, Joseph.
The only one. It's all we can get. Yeah, I mean, we've had rain going all the way back to Saturday. We're going to have rain coming up, so I'm not going to complain too much. It's nice to get some dry time in the forecast, and we will definitely have that for today. Yeah, there's some low clouds out there, and you may think that it is going to produce some rain. If anything, there might be a few drops closer to the lake, but overall today it's just going to be cloudy. And some of those clouds actually might break apart a little bit for a moment through the morning or the afternoon, so we may get some peaks of sunshine as well. That's just going to be seldom, and we're not going to have much of it as we work through the day. A couple of showers down to the southeast too. Most of the sunshine will be up to the northwest today, so enjoy that when you're going to be out and about. It's nice to get at least 24 hours, right? We could use a little bit more than that. Hopefully we'll get some dry days coming up, maybe into next week. All right, the wind today is going to be a little bit stronger. It is going to be kind of gusty this morning. Sustained wind speeds about 15 miles per hour out of the northwest. Yeah, it's there, but it's helping us out because it's bringing in the drier and cooler air. Still very, very humid, not even that far away. Look at it, a difference between 52 degrees as far as the dew point here versus 69 degrees in Cedar Rapids. That is humid, that is uncomfortable. This is comfortable, and we will stay with that. All day today, most of tomorrow as well, until we get to Thursday night into Friday. Once we start seeing a little more moisture, then the humidity is also going to jump with it. Next 12 hours will remain cloudy. We'll go with 73 to 74 degrees for the high today. Tonight down to 60 degrees and cloudy. Tomorrow still in the 70s, but now we're talking about more showers and maybe some thunder showers as well. I'll get to the timing of that coming up here in just a few minutes.
All right, Joseph, thank you. Let's take a look at your next drive this morning because we had it's a bit of a little bit of doozy for a federal holiday today. So let's start off with the traffic map because we actually have 2 crashes that have popped up. So the first one we want to take you to right now, that's going to be 494, and that is 494 at Penn Avenue. So the good news here, this does look to be in the clearing stages, even though MnDOT right now reporting a 19-minute delay. I want to take a camera view and see if we can take a camera view and look back. So the backup here, that's going to be the big story here. So the backup here, this is westbound on 494, so going toward Eden Prairie. This is, again, it looks like this is clearing, which is good news. The other crash that we are following is going to be on 62, Highway 62. So this is just outside of downtown Minneapolis as you're leaving downtown. This also is westbound. So this is traffic, again, that is leaving the downtown area, and it is not what we want to see. We've got a crash here. The backup here looks to be growing just a little bit. Is camera switching there? Looks like the camera, so right from this vantage point, things are okay. But this one right here, that's where you can see it in there. Yeah, there you go, that's a better shot. It's tough to make out here, but for all of our friends who are making their way to Edina, leaving Minneapolis, you are going to run into this backup again. It looks like a 19-minute delay being reported.
Yeah,
and
it's a bummer because it's 62 westbound and it's 494 westbound. So those are the two roads that all the people trying to make from the east over to the west, both of them are taking at this time.
Would you say those are the two busiest roads on this
Those are generally
yeah.
the two busiest roads there. Now, thankfully, because it is a federal holiday, there are many fewer people on the road. So really everywhere else, they're doing just great out there. We also have a next drive alert that we need to talk to you about because this may disrupt your commute. It has nothing to do with crashes or traffic. It has to do with rising rivers. They are now starting to close some of the highways across Minnesota.
So this is for greater Minnesota because many communities are preparing with more rain in our forecast. Our Pauline Lee has a closer look at the closures and their impacts.
This is just insult to injury at this point with all the rain that we've gotten, the road closures, but the trails as well, and now the canceled events too. Oh, let's take you out to Henderson here. Highway 19 east of the city to Highway 169 closed overnight. That's in anticipation of the Minnesota River seeping onto the roadway. Minnesota River is expected to reach moderate flood stage sometime this week. Now, while flooding is nothing new here, with the road construction currently happening on Highway 6 and 93, it's now even more of a headache for residents as the detour adds at least an extra 30 minutes to the average commute for the many people traveling to Mankato for work.
In the last couple of years, we were fortunate that it didn't flood. Well, now it happens to be that we're doing these road constructions, and of course now it's got to flood.
Right. Well, the rising Minnesota River is also closing roadways closer to the metro. Southwest of the metro, Highway 41 connecting Shakopee and downtown Chaska expected to close tomorrow morning, and it's already canceled Dan Patch Days and Savage, which was supposed to kick off tomorrow.
Yeah, it's certainly unfortunate with all the rain and more on the way. Even if you really like playing golf, 100 holes in one day, that is a lot.
It is a lot, but there's a noble cause bringing golf pros and veterans together in Minnesota today to do just that.
Plus, the summer heat, it is refusing to play by the rules, why experts worry the weather could spell disaster for the 2024 Olympics.
happening today, the Minnesota PGA is hosting its 7th annual 100 Holes for Hope charity event. The goal of the event to bring PGA professionals and veterans together for a marathon round of golf. Proceeds will benefit PGA America's Reach Foundation Minnesota. Players can play in pairs. They can also play alone. This will be happening at the Loop in Chaska. It goes from 8 this morning until late in the afternoon. So the Summer Olympics will kick off at the end of July, and they will be in Paris. Some are already concerned, though, that scorching temperatures could impact the games and the athletes. The last time Paris hosted the Summer Olympics, it was back in 1924. 100 years ago, yeah. A new report from the University of Portsmouth says that athletes and scientists are warning that this summer's combination of heat and humidity could be deadly.
The humidity is really what adds to the heat stress on our bodies. And so it increases the risk of heat-related illnesses from dizziness, heat cramps, exhaustion, all the way to heat stroke. So it really puts these athletes in a dangerous position.
It's something that needs to be addressed pretty urgently for sport to continue as it is.
So there are a lot of Olympic events that are outside. So the report does recommend scheduling more events in the evening. Now, Team USA has also unveiled its 2024 Olympics uniforms. Ralph Lauren once again designing the athletes, what they'll wear throughout the games in Paris. The brand says this collection drew inspiration from the host city while also embracing a patriotic spirit. Items from that collection, you can buy them at ralphlauren.com. You can also buy them at teamusa.com. And we want to hear from you this morning. What do you think about the Ralph Lauren Olympic outfits? Do you like them for the 2024 Summer Games? Let us know. QR code or WCCO.com/connect. Then we'll check back in with you coming up in just a little bit. Mike Max right now. We'll check in with him on what's coming up with sports.
Good morning, everybody. The weather has impacted just about everything, including the Twins, who had a rain delay last night in a marathon game. Today, they pick it up with the Tampa Bay Rays. 6:40 again. First pitch. The Twins trying to go on a target field roll before going on the road at the end of this week. The Minnesota Vikings have gone through mini camp. Now they'll prepare for training camp. They learned a few things about the running back position. Well, they brought in Aaron Jones. Jones comes over from Green Bay. He's excited to be a part of it and says he's got some things he hopes he can offer whoever is the starting quarterback.
Make sure I'm on top of my game and make the game easier for the quarterback, whoever's back there. That's what my job is, and bring that spark and be the leader. So it doesn't matter who's back there. I'm still going to be the same person and do my job.
Minnesota Lynx and Minnesota United in action both tonight. And how about this? Hulk Hogan in the Twin Cities. Yes, the all-star wrestler was in town pitching a beer. In fact, he says it's almost his American duty.
We're actually more alike than we are different. And even though the Democrats and Republicans don't talk, everybody should have a conversation to get on the same page. So this is even bigger than the politics. If we can get America talking, we can get everybody to agree that we're all more alike than different. And I think it starts at the top and it trickles down. So one beer at a time, we're bringing America back together again.
A possible local Olympian will feature tonight at 6. That's on WCCO TV. For CBS News Minnesota, I'm Mike Max with your morning sports update.
Hulk Hogan. All righty there. Good stuff, Maxie. Thank you. Let's take a look at your next drive. It's pretty quiet this morning for a Wednesday. It is a federal holiday. It is Juneteenth here, so you've just seen a lot fewer cars on the road. But we did have some minor crashes along some really busy stretches. So right along 62 westbound in Richfield, you can see things are picking back up against here. Also 494 westbound in Richfield as well. So that might be a bit of a slower commute, but otherwise you are looking pretty good if you are headed out the door right now. Coming up, we do have more to talk about. Let's see, lots more rain is coming our way. Flooding is not our only concern. What we can expect when it comes to a surge of mosquitoes across the state, plus the huge impact the recent rain is having as many areas in the state are dealing with flooding.
watching WCCO Mornings, always streaming on CBS News Minnesota.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pauline Lee. Joseph Dames will have your next weather forecast in just a minute. But first, today is Juneteenth. That's the newest national holiday. It's a day that we commemorate the end of slavery in the United States. And there are a number of ways that you can celebrate today. There are Juneteenth tours at Fort Snelling. There's also Juneteenth festivals and celebrations on the south side in Maple Grove and Edina. And the Ordway Theater is hosting a Juneteenth improv show. So you can find other events and other ways to celebrate as well. All the details on our website, WCCO.com. And just a reminder for you, banks and post offices, they will be closed today, but most retail chains, they will stay open. Also happening today, a senior community car show. It's going to be outside the Avidor Minnetonka, which is a 55-plus adult community. It's located near Ridgedale Mall. The event goes from 5 to 7 this afternoon. Let's take you out onto the roads right now because we are keeping an eye on one crash. For the most part, we are doing pretty okay in the metro here. That one exclamation point in the crosstown, that's in the clearing stages, so that is on its way out. But we are keeping an eye on a new crash, this one in the Roseville area. This is northbound, even though you're looking southbound, 35W here. So this is near exits for Minnesota 36 and Ramsey County Road. Sounds like to MnDOT, no injuries. The right lane is blocked, or one lane is blocked, I should say. It looks like a car hit the guardrail over there. So just a heads up for you if you're headed in that direction. Let's get a check of our forecast now with meteorologist Joseph Dames.
Well, you know what, Pauline, we had no early morning showers, so most of the roads should be nice and dry this morning, for the exception of just the areas that got inundated with all the moisture yesterday and late last night. So there might be some areas that are still kind of soggy here early this morning. 54 coming out of Grand Rapids. That was a very busy spot last night. Now some dry time, a little bit of sunshine trying to peek through the clouds, but this is what it looks like over our studio right now. Blue Tower referring to some colder air today compared to yesterday. Next 12 hours, dry.
watching WCCO Mornings, always streaming on CBS News Minnesota.
Next on WCCO Mornings, a beloved support dog shot and killed. Now a Minnesota family is searching for answers.
Then an arrest 4 years in the making. How authorities close the case on a complicated homicide.
Plus, our recent downpours are causing some issues across the state. The major flooding happening right now and when we could expect a reprieve.
And later, heat waves continue to roll through parts of the country as well as some massive wildfires. We'll tell you where and who is being impacted the most. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to WCCO Mornings, streaming live on CBS News Minnesota. I'm Pauline Lee.
And I'm Shayla Reeves. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's go ahead and get to your top stories this morning because a Carver County family is desperate for answers after someone shot their beloved pup several times, forcing the family to put him down.
WCCO's Alan Henry shows us how this member of their family was actually helping them with the loss of another member.
We shouldn't have to live in fear if someone's going to decide if our animal's last day is today.
But Ariel Brandenburg says she's been living with that fear for herself and her 2 young boys ever since losing their beloved pup, Gus. Ariel says her son went to the end of their driveway Saturday afternoon to grab the mail, with Gus accompanying him as usual.
And his dog likes to lay at the end of the driveway, and he laid there. And then about 8 minutes later, his dog came running up the driveway, bleeding through his back leg, and he was shot 3 times through the back.
The family took Gus to the vet, but were told his injuries were too severe. The Carver County Sheriff is now investigating.
So I don't know why someone would want to shoot this dog. But clearly that's what happened. I don't know if it was out of spite or some other reason. And that's what we need to find out, and the family deserves some answers.
Ariel says Gus was only out of sight for 10 minutes, but believes the dog stayed put and was on their property when he was shot, given his training as a service dog.
They lost their father to suicide a few years ago, and Gus was the thing that got them through it. He knew when my kiddos were having an anxiety attack and when they were grieving hard, and he would go and be the heavy weighted blanket on top of their bodies. And Gus would go everywhere with us.
Ariel says answers would help bring closure to her family.
It's a very, very sad situation when you have such big loss in your life as a parent, and then you lose a dog that literally got you through that loss, and not knowing who did it and why they did it.
Alan Henry, WCCO News.
Well, if you know something that might help catch who did this, you're asked to call the Carver County Sheriff's Office.
A man has finally been arrested for a crime committed 4 years ago. A body was discovered in a small fire inside of a basement of a Minneapolis building back in 2020. Authorities say the man, 52-year-old Wayne Jacob Arvidsson, was the victim of a homicide. Now police say that man was killed by someone who was subletting from him. According to the charges, the victim cheated this man out of $2,800. They say the suspect beat the victim to death and then set his body on fire. He's charged with murder and arson.
If you live in Edina, this story is for you. It's a warning. Police say they've been looking into several break-ins. They're investigating incidents of underground garage burglaries. Now, Edina police have recovered tools and other property. These break-ins happened between October and January. The investigation is ongoing. And meanwhile, shops in Edina have a new tool to help fight shoplifting. A new police substation has opened up near the Southdale Center. It includes an office for 2 retail crime investigators. Substation will be used exclusively to fight theft.
The St. Paul Public Schools Board of Education has approved a $1 billion budget for 2025. The budget includes more than $700 million in general fund expenses. That's nearly $115 million less than last year. That's because of the expiration of American Rescue Plan federal funding. The expenses this year will be more than the school's revenues. The budget passed in a 6-to-1 vote.
And new this morning, you won't be able to swim at Weber National Swimming Pool or Lake Harriet Southeast Beach for a while. Minneapolis Parks and Rec leaders say that they found bacteria levels in the waters there, and they're just too high. They're resampling the waters tomorrow, and they'll, of course, give us an update, which we'll pass along to you when we get it.
Rising rivers are causing headaches all across the state. It's not just closing highways, but trails and canceling events that we all look forward to during the summer months.
Yeah, let's take you to Carver County now. Parts of Highway 30 near New Germany closed earlier this week because of flooding. So did Highway 123. That's between Watertown and Mayer. And coming up tomorrow, Highway 41 connecting Shakopee to downtown Chaska is closing. That's because of the rising Minnesota River. The community of Delano also preparing. Crews have begun installing a flood wall near the Crow River. But it's not just the the roadways, as we mentioned, that we're worried about. Now, that recent rain saturating the ground and the grass, too, so much so that organizers of Dan Patch Days in Savage already made that difficult decision to cancel this year's event, which was set to kick off tomorrow.
It's a yearly thing we've had going on for a while now, and it just brings everybody together, and it sucks not to see everybody be able to get together, but we're still having some things going on, so that's still good.
Still looking on the bright side. Well, Fort Snelling State Park also experiencing some flooding. DNR says just about 0.25% of the park's trails are currently accessible.
We've been experiencing a lot of rain lately, and there is only more to come. Experts say the increase in rain could make the mosquito population spike. Right now, mosquito numbers are normal after a surge, but with the rain, more eggs are expected to hatch, and that could bring that surge back.
Ugh.
Not looking forward to it.
No, that's just
Not
my
at all.
instinct gut reaction. Ugh.
I'm right there with you.
Along with this weather.
It sure is. Looking outside right now, here's a live look. The next weather tower is shining blue. We want to go ahead and check in with Joseph now, keeping a close eye on the forecast and that rainfall for us.
I feel your pain about the mosquitoes as well. I was exactly how I was feeling. We've had so much rain, and yes, sometimes with that we get all the standing water, and that leads to the mosquitoes. So not something that we like. I will say today we at least get some dry time, but that's not really going to help us out all that much. Over the last 4 days, we've nearly had 3 inches of rain over at MSP. In the month so far, 4.63 inches. It's been a doozy, right? We had a couple Thursdays and Fridays there where we've had some dry time, but that is also going to change this week. Well, you may see that total, or maybe you've just been outside and you've been like, wow, we've had a lot of rain recently. So this is where we are so far for the month. Here's the top 5 wettest months in June, and going all the way back to the late 1800s there, okay? So the most recent is number 2. This was in 2014, where we had over 11 inches of rain. 1990 was number 3. So this doesn't look all that bad, but we factor in the next 3 days or so, and we may pick up another 3 inches, which would push us pretty close to the top 5. And by the time we wrap up this month, just knowing how things are going, maybe we will fall on that list, something that we're continuing to monitor. All right, here's the precipitation forecast. I mentioned the next 3 days because I want to show you how much rain that we may see. A lot of it's going to come on Thursday, late Thursday night and into Friday, and a lot of it's going to happen to be probably 94 to the south, and then including some of the counties just north of the Twin Cities and north of 94. But it looks like you'll get a bit of a break up north, where you had maybe upwards to 4 or 5 inches just from the storms yesterday. So that will be helpful for you folks there. All right, so if you're looking for some dry time, today is going to be your day for that. It is going to come with some clouds, a little bit of a breeze, but the humidity level is down. So if you just want to get outside and maybe do some yard work, if you can, if your ground's not too soggy there, today's the day to do it. You just want to get out to the park, today's the day to do that. You get the point here. Today is the day to do anything that is outdoors, pretty much. All right, here's the forecast. I'm going to take you through the rest of today. Here's 9:15. We're still very quiet. It's going to look like that most of today. Maybe this evening, picking up on a couple isolated showers down south, but we really don't see those spreading into probably the overnight hours. Some showers heading into tomorrow morning is definitely possible, likely on the lighter side. What is really going to bring in the heavy rain is going to arrive later in the day, though. I've paused this at 8:15. Western Wisconsin up to the north is pretty dry at this point in time, but scattered showers and thunderstorms start developing, and those will bring in some downpours and some pockets of some very heavy rain again. And so that's just going to add to the totals that we already have going on this month. Here's early Friday morning, still very wet, and we're going to keep those storms and showers in the forecast most of Friday morning and into the afternoon. The weekend looks like this, though. Once we get through some of that rain, which we'll have some on Saturday as well, we get to the dry time on Sunday with a high of 82 degrees. We keep some of the warmer air heading into early next week. I think we start to tap into some summer-like air, which summer officially begins tomorrow. But Monday and Tuesday, highs reaching nearly 90 degrees, mid to upper 80s. Definitely possible early next week.
All right, Joseph, thanks. Let's take you out onto the roads right now because we are keeping an eye on one crash here. This one up in the Roseville area. So I know the camera says 35W southbound, but the crash is actually northbound. This is between Highway 36 and the exit for Ramsey County Road C. So you can see a tow truck is there. Got there maybe 5-10 minutes ago. So this incident is on its way out. It was just a car that might have hit the guardrail there, causing some property damage issues. But you can see one lane is blocked. Traffic still being able to get by, but that's really all that we're watching this morning. If we take a look at the Metro map, map. Only one other incident that's in the Crosstown area. That's in the clearing stages as well. So for the most part, you're good to go as you head out the door.
For low-income families, reliable transportation is a key to survival. Last-minute car repairs can lead to financial disaster. Derek James shows how Minnesota program providing free car fixes is expanding its mission to take care of a major repair.
In the bays of the nonprofit Lift Garage in Minneapolis, mechanics are on a mission to provide low-cost auto repairs.
We serve Minnesotans that are at 150% of the federal poverty guideline or lower. For a family of, 3 people, that's in the $30,000 range.
Leaving no budget for a serious setback.
We've been able to save thousands of dollars for our customers replacing exhaust systems that they wouldn't probably have gotten done otherwise.
It's all because of Project Clean Air Repair.
What we do is piggyback on what they're doing already to cover the cost for the emission environmental benefit of these kinds of repairs.
An estimated 25% of passenger vehicles cause 90% of vehicle air pollution in Minnesota. Since 2017, Project CAR has covered the cost to repair nearly 600 cars, eliminating 32 tons of emissions. This isn't the Mercury Marquis from Uncle Buck that you're repairing.
Right, it can be. We see our fair share of late model cars that need a lot of repairs, but we also work on cars across the spectrum.
The program is run by the nonprofit Environmental Initiative.
Minnesota is going to face pressure that we're going to be close to violating federal air quality standards because new standards are going to be set this year.
Failure would lead to mandatory vehicle emissions testing across the state.
There are no silver bullets, so we have to do multiple kinds of projects like this to gain emission and exposure reduction, but also are cost effective and provide these kinds of economic benefits.
Project CAR is growing. Turbo Tims is the newest of 8 partners offering emissions repairs through the program at all 3 of its Twin Cities locations.
We could do this anywhere that we could find the shops because, again, there are cars like this and people who need the help, and we all benefit from cleaner air.
As a Minnesotan and as somebody that likes the outdoors, I want to make sure that we're protecting our environment in every way that we can, and this is a really innovative way to do that.
In Minneapolis, Derek James, WCCO News.
Project CAR is funded by Flint Hills Resources, Marathon Petroleum, the City of Minneapolis, and the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency.
Pretty neat program. Still to come, a dire warning out west as wildfires continue to rage.
I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. It was absolutely the most scariest thing I've ever seen.
Coming up, we'll take a closer look at the damage left behind and the fires still burning this morning.
Plus, how the hot summer could end up burning a hole through your wallet. That's when we return. back. At least one person is dead in the massive wildfires burning through parts of southern New Mexico.
As CBS News' Jared Hill reports, the state's government has declared a state of emergency for thousands.
It looks like an apocalypse. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. It was absolutely the most scariest thing I've ever seen.
This morning, the race is on to contain towering flames ripping through parts of New Mexico. Residents heeding a dire warning. Go now.
We've seen other fires, but nothing like this.
Pamela Bonner took this video of the smoke and flames rising above the ridgeline in the village of Ruidoso. Thousands of people in this part of southern New Mexico have been forced to flee. The now deadly wind-whipped wildfire burning through over 500 homes and buildings.
I didn't even look in the rearview mirror. As we drove away from the house, I didn't even give it a second thought.
It's not one, but two wildfires that have intersected here, about 75 miles west of Roswell, charring over 19,000 acres in less than 24 hours.
It's sad. These people have lost a lot.
New Mexico's governor has declared a state of emergency and deployed the National Guard as over a dozen agencies work to stop the burning.
We have two devastating, enormous fires. And when I say enormous, it means that they're getting more and more complicated to address.
Meanwhile, near Copperopolis, California, about 100 miles east of San Francisco, weaker winds helped crews get the Arrow fire 20% contained to Tuesday. Just the latest blaze as fire season erupts out west. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Now, winds are expected to continue to be a challenge for fire crews in New Mexico. Top-level fire management team is expected to take over.
And while we're in over our heads with extreme weather right now, the record-breaking heat waves are burning holes in everyone's wallets. Extreme heat is becoming more frequent and more costly. Bank of America's analysis found higher average temperatures boosting the average monthly utility payment. In a 2023 report, the U.S. Congress Joint Economic Committee cited data pointing to more than 2.5 billion hours of lost labor across certain sectors like agriculture, construction, and manufacturing.
All the data is suggesting that these heat waves are hotter and are lasting longer. And so when that occurs, people have to turn up their aircon and leave it on longer, and that's adding to cost.
Extreme heat can also disrupt the airline industry. When air is hot and less dense, planes need less weight or more runway for takeoff, which can lead to more canceled flights.
It's 8:49 now. Let's take a live look outside. Dare I say, do I see blue sky out there? What is this life? After days of rain, more on the way. Today is the day to get out and enjoy it. Let's get a check of our forecast now with meteorologist Joseph Dames.
Well, good morning and happy Wednesday. How about a high of 74 degrees today? Might feel pretty nice after topping off at 86 yesterday. Yesterday was just so warm and humid and then eventually stormy. We stay away from the rain today, and we're going to see those temperatures below average by just a few degrees. We'll get back to some warmer days coming up by the time we get closer to the weekend. All right, so there you go. One dry day. Haven't had that since last Friday, but we're back to the rain and some storms on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
All right, so did you play along in today's poll? We asked if you like Team USA Summer Game 2024 outfits.
Okay, so 37% of you said, yes, I love it. Okay.
About 51% said, it's all right.
Yes, and then 12% of you said, no, awful design. I mean, they always go with Ralph Lauren, which, I mean, Ralph Lauren, a very notable name, but they always seem to look very similar, and I'm just not a fan of it. I'm sorry.
You want something drastically different than last year.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, maybe when you get lucky and see a little bit of a change.
Exactly. As always, we'll continue to keep you up to date on the latest news and weather developments all day right here on the stream.
Thanks so much for spending a little time with us today.
We'll be back with more news and weather headlines coming up after a quick break.
watching WCCO Mornings, always streaming on CBS News Minnesota.
Good Wednesday morning, 8:55 now, and this is our one dry day of the week, but it is a good bit cooler than it was yesterday.
It's dry, it's cool, but at least we've removed the humidity as well. So there's some benefits, there's some pluses definitely for today. It's not going to be the perfect day, but it's a day that we do get some dry time. There's some clouds over the top of us, though maybe a couple broken clouds leading to a little bit of sunshine, especially up to the north and northwest. Hey, St. Paul, good morning to you. 63 degrees, northwest breeze coming in about 13 miles per hour. The dew point is the number that is a good gauge of the humidity. Yesterday was in the 70s, down in the 50s is a plus. We will take that. You have to see some of these rainfall reports, though, from the last 24 hours. I mean, Pete's location had over 4 inches. Deborah, nearly 3 inches. I mean, there was a lot of rain out there. A day, just one day of dry time is just not going to do the trick for us. We need a string or a spree of some dry days, and I don't see that in the forecast coming up. All right, 64 degrees right now in the Twin Cities. Blaine, 64 today. I have our temperatures in the lower 70s. Our average high now is 80, so we're going to be a good 8 degrees, maybe 7 degrees below average today. I do have some summer heat coming back in the forecast, though. Coincidentally, not in summer, the first day of summer, but coming up, so we'll talk about that.
All right, Joseph, thank you. We got a preview of what else is coming up on mid-morning. It's on the other side of the break. Coming up today on Mid-Morning, it's not always easy making friends as adults.
No, we are finding out how even casual friendships can add to our well-being. That's in our relationship.